All the hostages are alive and safe, and the gunman is dead following a tense 11-hour standoff at a synagogue in Colleyville, Texas. I'm Dan Springer. I'll have the details coming up.
Plus, the storm system that just brought us some snow and colder temperatures now targeting the eastern seaboard. And that same system bringing tornadoes and severe weather to parts of Florida.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Chris Warner. Officials in Delaware County arrested a man with outstanding warrants involving stolen property, and now federal charges are pending. Gerald Starr was taken into custody on outstanding warrants from the Cherokee Nation. According to Sheriff James Beck, Starr became a person of interest earlier this month when he allegedly stole a trailer. Authorities searched his property at the time, but nothing was found. Following a second search warrant, authorities located an item of interest in Starr's storage unit and then alerted federal agencies. Officials say they located Starr in a stolen travel trailer at an RV park in Oklahoma following a third search warrant. That investigation is currently ongoing. 4 people now safe and sound, and the suspect dead after a hostage situation Saturday in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Fox News correspondent Dan Springer has the latest on the investigation.
Texas breathing a sigh of relief after a tense situation that could have ended in disaster. All of the hostages held inside the synagogue in Colleyville ultimately escaping unharmed after a tense standoff.
This is something that you don't ever expect to have in your own city. The rabbi is a personal friend of mine.
The attacker, identified as British national Malik Faisal Akram, first came in during the synagogue's Saturday morning service. The rabbi among the 4 people held, as the hostage taker could be heard on a live stream, demanding the release of Afia Siddiqui, a Pakistani neuroscientist believed to have ties to al-Qaeda. She's currently serving an 86-year sentence in a federal prison in Texas for trying to kill U.S. military officers in Afghanistan. One hostage was released about 6 hours after the standoff began. The other 3 got out about 4 hours after that. A SWAT team entered the building, and police announced a short time later the gunman was dead.
We'll continue to investigate the hostage taker. We'll continue to investigate his contacts. Our investigation will have global reach.
Though it's not clear why the synagogue was targeted, both President Biden and the Israeli Prime Minister released statements praising law enforcement for their quick response and pledging to stand up to anti-Semitism and extremism in the United States.
This was an act of terror. This is an act of terror.
The FBI has not indicated whether the gunman shot himself or was killed by police as they entered that synagogue. None of the hostages were hurt. In Colleyville, Texas, Dan Springer, Fox News.
And we saw, some clouds, but no snow. Nick Kelly joining us.
Yeah, we were definitely dry. That part of the forecast held up, Chris, but leave it to Mother Nature. She has the ultimate say about how our weather goes. So a lot of us had to deal with persistent fog and low visibility throughout much of the day. That didn't give us much wiggle room as far as temperatures go. 21 this morning. At least Joplin tried to make a run for a bit of a warm-up, but all we could squeeze out was a high of 27 today. Thankfully, our setup is changing for the better as we go through the overnight because of what's working across central parts of Missouri right now. It's just trying to fire off a few random snow flurries around the Harry-Truman Reservoir, but any meaningful snow with that staying mainly around the St. Louis area along the Mississippi River. But this wave is clearing the rest of the fog out of here, so we are finally going to see mostly clear skies to start Monday morning out, lows around 25. And our Martin Luther King Day is about brighter skies ahead of us. Everybody back above the freezing mark, but at least we'll go into the mid-40s around Joplin for tomorrow. Chris, we'll see if this is a trend that will hold throughout the rest of the week. Here in a bit.
All right, Nick, thank you. University of Kansas suspended 2 fraternities for hazing earlier this month, but officials don't plan to share their investigation with police. Phi Gamma Delta and Phi Delta Theta were both suspended from campus for 5 years because of the incidents the university officials found, which included assaults, sleep deprivation, forced workouts, destruction of pledges property, and retaliation for reporting the behavior to university officials. A major winter storm is traveling up the East Coast. More than 80 million Americans are under winter weather alerts. The storm is dropping freezing rain, snow, and ice and leaving hundreds of thousands of people without power. John Lawrence reports.
Winter weather alerts extend for more than 1,400 miles across the U.S., stretching from Mississippi to Maine.
This storm's a menace. As much as a foot of snow is expected to fall in the mountains and foothills, and in central North Carolina, freezing rain and sleet on top of some snow will fall.
Significant ice accumulation is expected in North and South Carolina, making travel especially dangerous.
Because it will be such a statewide impact, we've activated our State Emergency Operations Center along with our State Emergency Response Team partners in preparation for this. So I think if we can be ready, we are ready for this storm.
Governors have declared states of emergency in the Carolinas, Virginia, and Georgia.
The main message to my fellow Georgians is just be winter weather aware this weekend.
The storm is also expected to bring a wintry mix to the Northeast through Monday.
We're anticipating 8 to 10 inches of snow in the area. We will have 24-hour coverage on our roadways.
Officials warn residents in affected areas to stay home if possible and to be cautious while driving.
I know you got to get the main drags first, but hey, just run a plow through some salt, would be happy.
More than 2,000 flights have been canceled Sunday, according to the tracking site FlightAware. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
That same storm system leaving hundreds of Florida residents homeless and thousands more without power after an EF2 tornado. National Weather Service confirmed a 118-mile-an-hour tornado struck near Punta Rusa on Sunday. Authorities in Lee County say 30 homes were completely destroyed with another 108 reported damage. 3 residents reported injured, but none of the injuries were said to be life-threatening. An emergency shelter has been opened for the estimated 150 to 200 people who have been displaced by the storm. Residents of Point Breeze, Tropicana, and Century 21 mobile home communities 10 miles south of Fort Myers sustained the most damage. Roughly 7,000 people in Fort Myers area are without power. We take this time now to honor one of our many four-state heroes. Garland Stanley served in the Navy during World War II aboard the USS Yorktown, his hometown, Carthage. We're proud to recognize Garland Stanley, tonight's four-state hero. And of course, learn more about other heroes or nominate one of your own. Just go to KOAMNewsNow.com. Later, when the temperatures eventually start to go up this year, experts say gas prices may follow.
Leave Oak Bluffs.
Well, at least we stayed dry throughout the course of our Sunday to wrap up this weekend, but Mother Nature, again, has the ultimate say about how the weather goes around here after all, so she decided to keep a lot of us under overcast skies and certainly stubborn fog throughout the day. So after we saw temperatures at least bounce into the lower 30s, even with periods of snow throughout the day, we just couldn't really go anywhere today. We dropped into the lower 20s this morning, at the most 27, maybe a few of you near 28 overall, especially around the Joplin area. So when we look back at January so far, the number of days above normal seems to jump out at first, 11 of the past 16 days, but we've certainly seen our fair share of colder weather snapping in, especially right after New Year's with a high 24 on that Sunday, 20s, 30s, and 40s through the 5th through the 7th, and especially today where we can only top out around 27 or 28 degrees. Fortunately, 40s. 50s. That's what's in store for us for the next few days. We're going to definitely enjoy that before another wave comes our way. It might want to bring some rain chances for a few spots Wednesday morning, but it's going to trend us back below normal, certainly trending colder as we hit Wednesday and going into next weekend. As far as where we stand right now, at least we're improving things. We've gotten rid of the fog, thankfully. Partly cloudy skies in Joplin, 26 degrees, a light west breeze outside. As the fog was clearing out from west to east, you can see how we did go at least near 40 in our far western counties and even a 46 out in Sedan. But temperatures now are pretty much in the same ballpark, mid 20s to about 30 degrees. This is primarily where we're going to sit throughout the course of the night, with thankfully a breeze coming back in the right direction to get things back on the warming trend. It's a light northwesterly and westerly breeze right now, but let me take you to the surface map because there are changes for the better working in. The quick wave upstairs, I'll show you that in a moment, try and bring a few snow flurries around the Harrington Reservoir, but overall, A developing area of high pressure, that's what's going to get the southwesterly wind back in play for tomorrow. There's the last storm system with winter storm warnings galore from the Appalachian Mountains all the way up into New England. Here's the quick upper level wave coming in. It's mainly producing more measurable snowfall around the St. Louis area and along the Mississippi River, but we're seeing the jet stream start to head back our way. That will bode well, thankfully for us, because once we get past a cold Monday morning, with lows in the mid-20s, maybe some upper 20s for some of you, look at where we finally go as we go into tomorrow afternoon. Back above freezing. We've got a range of 40s and 50s on the board. I think most of southwest Missouri will be in the lower to middle 40s tomorrow, but around Joplin, let's say 25 in the morning, 39 by noon, highs near 45, but maybe some lower 50s. Can't rule that out in our western counties, certainly as we work west of 69. But even with cloud cover trying to work back in on Tuesday, we'll go from the mid-30s Tuesday morning into the 50s. We'll certainly take it before we see Wednesday's wave, which will be developing out in the Rockies on Tuesday, start to head our way. That's what's going to bring in the scattered showers for some spots as we go into Wednesday morning, but that is going to bring the cold right back in for the rest of the week. 45 tomorrow, thankfully. 55 Tuesday. Starting at 44 early Wednesday morning, Chris, then we're going to drop back through the 20s throughout the day. 20s and 30s Thursday and Friday, then we're back near 40 by the weekend.
Warming up just enough to melt the snow before the next chill.
And at the very least, we're going to finally warm back up tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to it, Nick. Thank you. Up next, one of the largest tech companies in the U.S. is asking more from its staff.
In your share of over $100,000.
Energy experts say look for higher fuel prices across the country as warmer weather hits. Gas Buddy petroleum analyst Patrick DeHaan says the country is in a lull period now, but high prices will come crashing in by March, April, and May. Oil price information service expert Tom Closa cites a range from the Super Bowl to Memorial Day for more gas price bite. Both say a $4 national average is possible in 2022, and declining production and political instability in Kazakhstan and Libya are factors in higher prices. One of the largest tech companies in the U.S. is asking more from its staff. According to reports on Saturday, Apple is now requiring retail and corporate employees to provide proof of a COVID-19 booster shot. Employees who are not vaccinated or have not submitted proof will be mandated to produce negative COVID tests to enter Apple facilities. This is part of a trend among major companies in the U.S. strengthening their COVID policies as variants pop up. Other tech giants such as Facebook and Google have implemented similar policies. The FAA setting new landing rules for specific planes as new 5G cell service goes online near airports. The Federal Aviation Administration says Boeing 787 planes will have to adopt new procedures for landing in wet or snowy weather due to potential interference from new 5G cellular towers. The FAA says interference could delay thrust reverser deployment for braking, which affects the plane's ability to stop. It's also not yet known if plane altimeters, which measure height above ground, are affected. 5G service begins at some major airports on Wednesday. On Thursday, President Biden will mark a full year in office. The milestone is coming at a time when Mr. Biden has hit some roadblocks in trying to get his agenda passed. Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson takes a look.
President Biden praising the efforts of the FBI and local law enforcement, including that hostage rescue team that stormed into the synagogue. He spoke earlier in Philadelphia.
In regard to Texas and the synagogue, I spoke this morning with the Attorney General and to get a rundown on, he said there was overwhelming cooperation with the local authorities and the FBI, and they did one hell of a job. This was an act of terror.
The Commonwealth of Virginia's new governor spoke on Fox News Sunday, his first interview since being sworn in Saturday.
We've seen animosity and hatred towards the Jewish community on the rise, and we're just not going to stand for it in Virginia or in this country.
The White House happy to put last week behind them, some calling it the week from hell. Talks with Russia failed, the Supreme Court saying the vaccine mandate for large companies was illegal, and Biden's trips to Georgia and Capitol Hill failing to get voting rights passed, and no changes to the filibuster despite the president's best efforts. Biden's poll numbers now the lowest since taking office, just 33%, going underwater for the first time following the withdrawal from Afghanistan and paving the way for the Taliban to take over for the first time in 20 years. On the economy, Biden rates just 34%, on foreign policy, 35%, and his handling of the coronavirus pandemic, 39%, following a record-setting number of coronavirus cases and hospitalizations nationwide. A doctor from Brown University says the White House's COVID messaging is confusing.
Well, it's certainly making it harder for people to know what to do. And in a public health crisis like the one we have, getting the public to understand the moment we're in, what are the key things they need to be doing to keep themselves and their families safe, is enormously important.
This week marks the end of the president's first year in office. He'll mark the occasion with a press conference at 4 p.m. Wednesday, the same day his new website offering coronavirus tests goes online. In Wilmington, Delaware, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Coming up, the Winter Olympics in China could be affected by the latest coronavirus variant. The Winter Olympics in China could be affected by the latest coronavirus variant just weeks ahead of the start of the Games. Now, Beijing officials reported the city's first Omicron variant case on Saturday. The infected person lives in a northwest district of the city with no recent travel history outside Beijing. Multiple other cities, including Shanghai and Tianjin, have reported variant cases. China has adopted a strict zero-tolerance COVID policy, even locking down some residential compounds. Officials urging residents to stay in their cities for the upcoming Lunar New Year and not travel back to hometowns. The Winter Olympics start in 19 days. Boats along the coast of New Zealand have been damaged after an undersea volcano erupted off the Tongan Islands, triggering a tsunami waves to come crashing ashore. Tsunami advisories have been put in place for several South Pacific islands, as well as Japan, New Zealand, Hawaii, Alaska, and British Columbia. The volcanic eruption happened near the islands of Tonga, leaving that island flooded in many areas after tsunami waves damaged roads and properties. New Zealand boaters spoke of the sudden tsunami waves that hit the coast, saying they had no warnings of the bad weather. Ash from the volcanic eruption continues to rain down across areas in Tonga, and some phone connections even remain out. President Joe Biden is scheduled to meet virtually with Japanese Prime Minister Kishida on Friday. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the two leaders will discuss their visions for a free and open Indo-Pacific. They're also expected to talk about working together in the fight against COVID-19. Psaki says this meeting will, quote, highlight the strength of the U.S.-Japan alliance, which is the cornerstone of peace, security, and stability worldwide. Convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell is no longer protecting the names of 8 men involved in Jeffrey Epstein's operation. Maxwell's attorney told a federal judge on Wednesday that she would no longer object to their identities being released. The men are listed as John Does in a 2015 civil suit brought against Maxwell by Prince Andrew accuser Virginia Giuffre. Giuffre's allegations imply that the men were involved in Jeffrey Epstein's sexual abuse of minor girls between 1994 and 2004. Although Epstein is reputed to have had many rich and powerful friends, none have been specifically implicated in court. Final decision on releasing their names is up to a federal judge, Loretta Preska. The letter was written the same day another federal judge allowed Giuffre's case to move forward against Prince Andrew. Former Full House actress Lori Loughlin and her fashion designer husband Massimo Giuliani are the latest victims of a wave of burglaries sweeping Los Angeles. A police source tells Fox News Digital that someone stole roughly $1 million worth of jewelry from their home earlier this month. Loughlin, her husband, and their daughters were not home at the time. Fox News correspondent Jeff Paul has the latest from Los Angeles.
While this happened a few weeks ago, we're only now learning the extent of what was taken. And at the moment, police do not have any suspects in the $1 million jewelry heist. Here's what we know. This all happened January 3rd in the Hollywood Hills. Both Loughlin and her husband, Massimo Giannoli, were not home at the time of the burglary. But investigators say the burglars were dressed in black and it was a housekeeper and private security who called police. This is just the latest in a string of crimes impacting high-profile celebrities. On December 1st, philanthropist Jacqueline Avant was shot and killed during a home invasion. Citywide, homicides are up, violent crime is up, and so are property crimes. LA Mayor Eric Garcetti says fixing the problem can't fall squarely on just law enforcement.
We can't just put this on the brave shoulders and the broad shoulders of our police officers, but this must be owned by every civilian, by every strategy, and by every approach we can take to co-own public safety.
One recent murder that's drawing lots of attention involves a 24-year-old woman who was stabbed to death. Her employer, Croft House Furniture, had her working alone in the store, and it was a customer who later walked in and discovered the scene. Police say they believe a man wearing all black with an N95 mask leaving through the back door of the store is their suspect. But they haven't made any arrests and are hoping if anyone somehow recognizes this person or knows what happened, comes forward.
I feel gutted that this girl her life was snuffed.
The stuff that's happening on Melrose, Fairfax, I don't like it at all. I just wanted to be the way how it used to be.
The victim's father wanted to make it clear she was a gifted artist and a listener who was loved by all. Police say this was, quote, a random attack. In Los Angeles, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
Switching gears, we're wrapping up this half hour of News at 9 with a special donkey. An animal sanctuary in Texas is honoring the late actress Betty White by naming one of their newest additions after her. Meet Betty White Ludden. The baby donkey was born on Christmas Day at the Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue. White donated to the organization for years. The actress was a devoted animal rights activist. She passed away on December 31st, just 2 weeks for her 100th birthday, which is tomorrow. Fans around the world are planning to celebrate the comedy icon by organizing mass donations to animal shelters in her honor. We've got 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports headed your way on this edition of the News at 9. Up first, Prince Harry is challenging a government decision that he should not receive police protection when he's on British soil. Plus, the University of Michigan has fired its president over an alleged inappropriate relationship. Also, one of America's greatest aviators has died at the age of 102. And Virginia's newly sworn-in governor has hit the ground running. Welcome back. Prince Harry is challenging a government decision that he should not receive police protection when he's on British soil, even if he covers the cost himself. The son of Prince Charles and the late Princess Diana and his American wife Meghan Markle resigned from their royal duties 2 years ago to begin a new life in California. Since then, they've been using private security. But Harry's legal representatives say the arrangement does not give the prince the level of protection he needs when he's visiting Britain, and that's keeping the prince away from his home country. The government spokesperson is not explaining the situation publicly, saying only the government's long-standing policy is not to provide detailed information on any arrangements, since that could compromise an individual's security. The University of Michigan has fired its president over an alleged inappropriate relationship. University officials removing Mark Schleichel effective immediately over allegations he had a sexual affair with a subordinate. The university says Schleichel used his university email to communicate improperly with the employee. The Board of Regents notified Schleichel by letter with email excerpts saying an investigation after an anonymous complaint showed years of impropriety. Schleichel hasn't yet commented and was to step down in June of 2023. One of America's greatest aviators has died at the age of 102. Brigadier General Charles McGee, one of the last surviving Tuskegee airmen, passed away in his sleep Sunday morning. McGee made history by completing 409 combat missions across 3 major conflicts: World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin called him an American hero in a tweet mourning his loss Sunday. The groundbreaking African-American pilot's lifetime of service was honored with the Congressional Gold Medal in 2007. He was later enshrined in the National Aviation Hall of Fame in 2011. McGee is survived by 3 children, 10 grandchildren, 14 great-grandchildren, and 1 great-great-grandchild. Virginia's newly sworn-in governor has hit the ground running. Glenn Youngkin signed 11 executive actions on his first day in office, including ending the use of critical race theory in schools and allowing parents to decide if their children should wear masks in schools. Fox News correspondent Alexandria Hoff has more.
Taking immediate action was a vow that Governor Youngkin made repeatedly on the campaign trail. Of course, a lot of politicians do that, but his phrasing became so well known that the crowd chanted along with him when he said this during his inaugural address.
I come to this office ready to lead and serve starting on day one.
Less than 2 hours later, Governor Youngkin delivered, signing 11 executive actions. They include ending the use of divisive concepts like critical race theory in schools, removing a mask mandate for school children, and investigating wrongdoing by officials in Loudoun County. Governor Youngkin appeared exclusively on Fox News Sunday and said this about masks.
We are providing parents an opt-out. We're providing them the ability to make the right decision for their child with regards to their child's well-being.
Empowering parents drove enthusiasm during Youngkin's run for office. In November, the political outsider became the first Republican in 12 years to win a statewide election. On CRT, the governor said while there are no courses with that title, its tenets are being taught.
We are, in fact, are going to increase transparency so that parents can actually see what's being taught in schools.
In addition, new Attorney General Jason Miyares will now lead the investigation into the Loudoun County School Board. The new administration accuses the board of covering up the sexual assault of a student. On day 2, Governor Youngkin had to contend with a winter storm, and for that he said that he deployed the National Guard early to help prevent any issues. In Washington, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
Later, Novak Djokovic will not be defending his Australian Open title.
Well, at least Mother Nature allowed us to dry things out after we got rid of the last of the snow, certainly yesterday evening. But the stubborn overcast skies for many of us, certainly the fog, did not allow us much wiggle room in terms of warming things up throughout the day. So these numbers are just downright cold looking back over the past 36 hours. Lower 30s, that's where we at least jumped back to around the drop in the area with the periods of snow still ongoing. We dropped into the lower 20s this morning and around 27, 28 degrees. That's the best we could do for Joplin today. Fortunately, the weather setup's changing for the better. We've got 40s in this forecast tomorrow for many of us and 50s for our Tuesday. So temperatures don't look bad for the next few days, which we'll certainly take. Then I'm watching a quick wave that'll come in on Wednesday. Not only could it bring some possible rain chances Wednesday morning before temperatures take a tumble, it's certainly going to send us back into the chill Wednesday and into next weekend. For the time being, though, we're finally at least getting rid of the fog that's been plaguing us throughout the entire day. Nice to see at least partly cloudy skies now. No signs of fog around Joplin, but still cold at 26. West window, it's light. We'll take it at about 3 miles per hour. Around the rest of the area, we actually had the fog clearing from west to east throughout the late afternoon. That did at least allow Yates Center to go to 38, 41 in Fredonia, 46 in Sedan. So some of you did manage to warm up, thankfully. But we're all going to get a chance to really warm up again tomorrow. We just got to get past a cold night with most of us now still in the mid-20s to about 30 degrees. But the changing wind, we had that wind out of the northwest. Thankfully light throughout the day, 5 to 10, maybe a couple times near 15. But this light breeze now, it's going to come back out of the southwest tomorrow. That is really going to help to change things for the better if you're not a fan of how cold it was to wrap up today. Let's look at the surface map. Our last storm system working as advertised along the eastern seaboard now. We got a developing high out in the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. That will get us the southwest wind back in play for tomorrow. This upper level wave coming out of Wisconsin, that's clearing the fog out around here. And then we've got the jet stream eager to return back on top of the region tomorrow. That's also going to aid in getting us finally back above freezing tomorrow. But we're going to stay cold for tonight, but at least we'll be mostly clear, thankfully, with overnight lows dropping back into the mid to upper 20s. Mostly sunny skies tomorrow afternoon. That means temperatures finally back above freezing to really do some melting. 25 in the morning, 39 by noon, highs near 45 around Joplin with eventually a southwest wind at 5 to 10. We'll say low to mid 40s on the Missouri side, mid 40s to lower 50s for our corners of Kansas and Oklahoma. Quick look at Tuesday, has a lot of cloud cover building back in overnight, but that keeps us in the mid 30s for Tuesday morning. And then with the jet stream to the north, 50s for Tuesday. We'll certainly take it. Before that wave on Wednesday rolls on in. Again, maybe some rain chances for some in the morning, but that will ultimately drop temperatures back down once again. 45 tomorrow, 55 Tuesday, going into the 20s throughout Wednesday, 20s and 30s Thursday and Friday. But fortunately, Chris, will stay dry going into next weekend with highs back near 40.
Nick, thank you. Coming up in sports, the Kansas City Chiefs begin their postseason today at home against the Steelers. Plus, the Missouri Southern women have put together a 3-game winning streak ahead of a tough road stretch. Danny Terzer's got it all next.
This is the Toyota Sunday Night Sports Feed. For the Kansas City Chiefs, the postseason begins tonight. The Chiefs aim to make their 3rd straight Super Bowl appearance, but there's still a lot of football to be played between now and then. In the AFC wildcard round, the Chiefs host the Steelers. Kansas City stomped Pittsburgh in the regular season. Tonight, Patrick Mahomes has 5 touchdown passes. It's 42-14 in the 4th quarter. And if Kansas City wins, they will advance to play Buffalo at home in the divisional round. Now in the NFC, Tampa Bay blows by the Eagles 31-15, and the 49ers end the Cowboys season with a 23-17 win. Pitt State split games against Washburn on Saturday. The men lost a heartbreaker 80-79. The women fared better though, beating the Ichabods 69-56. It's the 2nd straight win for the PSU women, their conference record now 6-4. Jamie Jackson and Sydney Crane combined for 33 points. Jackson had a career-high 17, while Crane added 16 with a few clutch threes. Tristan Gegg had 12 points, all of which, pretty surprisingly, came from behind the arc.
Tristan did a great job second half, finding some layups, finding some rejections, which everybody, they have to pressure up, but she can rip it. She's super quick, and so she found some ways to get on the board beside the 3-point line, which is awesome. That's, again, a veteran player, not trying to force the issue, just go get something else, and so really proud of her for that, because I think those were in a couple tight moments too.
The Missouri Southern men lost their 2nd straight on Saturday, while the women picked up a win against Emporia State. Lacey Stokes scored a team-high 16 points with 6 rebounds and 5 assists. Maddie Stokes collected a double-double, 15 points and 12 rebounds. Elaine Skiles and Amaya Johns also hit double digits in scoring, plus they had 9 rebounds each. It's the 3rd win for the Lions in a row, and a good time to be playing well with a tough schedule ahead.
We get to go on the road and play Fort Hays and Nebraska Kearney, 2 of the top 25 teams in the country, may even be in the top 10. But it's going to be a big challenge, but I think our kids will be excited for it. But, we're going to have to continue to play great defense, and we're going to have to continue to take care of the basketball because both them teams are really, really good defensively, and they turn you over, which creates some easy buckets for them. So that'll be a big key for us next week when we go to Hays and Kearney is just executing and playing our style of basketball and make sure we do the positive things that we've been doing.
The Kansas Jayhawks have been challenged in their last 2 games. They lost to 25-ranked Texas Tech, and then most recently squeaked out a 1-point win against 15-ranked Iowa State. Kansas at home on Saturday, hosting a 2-loss West Virginia team. Mountaineers with the lead here in the first. Jalen Bridges slams down the missed shot. Then Ochai Agbaji sidesteps, hits the 3, ties it at 29. Second half, though, Kansas absolutely dominates. David McCormick gets the jam here. 19 points, 15 rebounds for McCormick. Double-digit lead for the Jayhawks now. Christian Brown to Agbaji. Bucket and foul. Agbaji finishes with 20 points. Later, Wilson on the fast break. He's got a season-high 23 points in the game, and what began as a close game finishes as a blowout, 85-59 Kansas. Another matchup in the Big 12 on Saturday, Oklahoma State at Baylor. Off the steal, Bryce Thompson gets the dunk on the other end. Adding to the Cowboys' lead, another fast break. Avery Anderson makes the nice driving layup, 15-4 Oklahoma State. And Baylor turns it over again. Thompson makes them pay. He finishes with 19 points. To the second half now for Baylor. LJ Cryer hits the triple, and then Matthew Mayer makes the three from the top. Bears within 3, but then 30 seconds left in the ballgame. Thompson steals it away, and that seals it. Oklahoma State gets the road win over the #1 team in the country, 61-54. K-State on the floor against Texas Tech on Saturday. Wildcats down by 7 in the first. Nigel Pack knocks down the 3. K-State trails by 2 at half. After the break, Red Raiders down. Bryson Williams nails the 3. Game high 20 points for him. Later, Mark Smith hits the reverse here, plus the foul. Wildcats back on top by 5. And then in the final minutes, Smith sinks the triple. Kansas State upsets Texas Tech at home, 62-51. That's a look at sports. We're back right after this.
World #1 tennis player Novak Djokovic will not be defending his Australian Open title. Fox News correspondent Trey Yingst has that story.
Tennis star Novak Djokovic was deported this morning after his visa was canceled over the weekend by Australian authorities.
The orders of the court.
A federal judge dismissed an appeal by the #1 ranked player to overturn a decision to revoke his visa. His case received international attention after Djokovic was detained upon arrival to Melbourne earlier this month. He spent 4 nights in an immigration detention hotel. Djokovic had been granted a medical exemption to enter the country to play in the Australian Open despite not being vaccinated against COVID-19. The 34-year-old had coronavirus last month, but Australian border officials ruled he doesn't meet the criteria for an exemption. That argument was echoed by Australia's immigration minister, who pulled the visa, noting that Djokovic did not include on his entry forms that he had traveled to multiple other countries over the past 2 weeks. In a statement released after the court case, Djokovic said he was extremely disappointed in the ruling, adding he respects the court's decision. The Serbian tennis player had hoped to win a 21st Grand Slam title. Serbia's prime minister reacted to the news this morning, saying this.
I think the decision is scandalous. I'm disappointed, and I think it showed how the rule of law functions in some other countries.
The Australian Open begins tomorrow, and the world will be watching, though Djokovic will be watching from Dubai, where he flew this morning. In Tel Aviv, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
Up next, we're telling you where you can find 13,000 square feet of fun. Well, the pandemic has left you feeling a little deflated, maybe the world's largest bouncy house will pump you up. Big Bounce America is on tour across the country, making a weekend stop in Sarasota, Florida. At 13,000 square feet, it is the world's largest attraction of its kind. It takes a team of 30 people and 2 full days to fill it up with air. The giant inflatable theme park is just the thing for kids of all ages. The only catch is, and this could be a tough one, is you're asked not to bring any sharp objects. After all, no one wants to pop a hole in a good time. And I tell you, Nick, I don't know about you, but bouncing really does something good for you. This isn't so bouncy over here, but just bouncing is good, right, Cameron? Do you enjoy bouncing? I mean, who doesn't enjoy a good bounce? I know the guys in the control room do. Look at Ian. You can't see him, but look at Ian back there. He's bouncing right now. He's going to break that seat. Guys, that's our time for now. We're going to see you back here next weekend. Thank you so much for making us part of your night.